Parfitt, in your testimony, you state Wyoming and EPA already regulate what the BLM is attempting to regulate under the guise of waste prevention and royalty accountability, and you explain that portions of the BLM's proposed rule are designed to regulate air pollution, which is a matter that Congress delegated to the states and the EPA, not to the BLM. You go on in your testimony, in your written testimony, to say the BLM has historically recognized the state's air quality primacy and deferred to the state on air quality issues. So finally, you conclude the BLM's newfound interpretation of authority to regulate air quality above and beyond state and EPA requirements is at best, I think you said, arbitrary and unreasonable. So, Ms. Leiter, my question for you is, what's changed? Why is the BLM now in the business of regulating air quality?
Well, I don't think I can say it as well as Senator Franken did.
Nobody
can. Try.
It's okay.
I will try. Our obligation under the Mineral Leasing Act is to regulate the waste of natural resources. It happens that in this case, in wasting natural gas, it goes up into the air. And so by regulating that waste, we will have incidental, very, very positive effects on air quality. But it is not our aim to regulate air quality. It is our aim to reduce waste.
Mr. Parfitt, would you like to respond?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. Our position is that this is regulation of air quality. It's a matter that's been delegated to the states, and I will refer back to December 2005 letter from the BLM, where they state and acknowledge the authority for air quality is with the state. And if I could just read this, this is the quote from the letter we received in 2005. It has been administratively determined that BLM does not have the authority to regulate air quality. That authority rests with the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality. And you have a situation where EPA has recently come out with their rules. They are for new and modified sources. It's still under final review by EPA. They are proposing to look at existing sources for methane through an information collection request process. So what you end up with is a duplication of rules from the BLM, from the EPA, and the state, which causes confusion and inefficiencies in our view.
Yeah, Mr. Elgin, would you like to add anything on that?
Yes, thank you. From our perspective, of course, us being a checkerboard reservation, having this level of over-regulating components here is going to create that problem of, well, who regulates who? And I think even as simple as, from my perspective, if BLM is regulating the air quality, who's regulating the minerals aspect, which is BLM's component? And I think from our stance here, we have enough regulations governing Indian country as it is, and more regulations just creates those problems for Indian tribes in their economies, and we struggle very hard to maintain income for our people, our lands, and this is across Indian country, and I think it's just another step to provide that paternalism from the federal government, so we don't support it.
Yeah, so, Ms. Leiter, where do you believe BLM's jurisdiction ends and the EPA's jurisdiction begins with respect to methane emissions?
Well, I can certainly tell you that our jurisdiction ends where the resources, the land or the resources, are non-federal. With respect to the lands and the minerals that we do regulate, I believe we have not just the authority but the obligation under the governing statute to try to reduce waste of the resources and to do that in as reasonable a way as possible. We do recognize the jurisdictional complications, certainly in the checkerboard areas, and our practice in the past has been to work with states or with the tribes where those issues arise.
It just seems, isn't BLM just trying to regulate existing sources of methane in a way that even the EPA is not allowed to do so under the Clean Air Act?
Well, EPA is not doing so under the provision that it's currently acting under, but EPA under the Clean Air Act is beginning to investigate the possibility of regulating existing sources, and it's our aim to set up our regulations such that compliance with EPA's regulations, where applicable, would be deemed to be compliance with ours as well.
Yeah, Mr. Parfitt, I see you smiling. Do you have anything you'd like to add on to this? And then, Ms. Scum, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Thank you, Senator. Under the Clean Air Act, EPA would have to go through what's called the 111B process to regulate new and modified sources before it can establish regulation under 111D for existing sources.
Ms. Scum, anything additional?
Well, when we got this venting and flaring rule, we noticed it looked a lot like EPA's new source performance standards. In fact, there was some cut and paste that was a little bit interesting, if not funny at times, because it just didn't apply well. And so we will be cutting and pasting our comments from EPA's Quad O A regulation and putting that in our BLM regulation as well. It is talking about tons per year. It's talking about controlling emissions. That is clearly within the realm of EPA, not within the realm of BLM.
Thank you.